I'm putting my trust in you today. We've just landed our biggest client to date. This client presents a high risk and is very well known in the auto community. I present to you the Shopify engagement. Now, do you feel you two are up for the task of auditing this public company?
Yes, of course.
It's like it's palm tree season now.
Hi, Toby. Hi, it's nice to see you again. So as mentioned, thank you so much for your business and putting your trust in us for performing your yearly audits. So like I mentioned on the phone, this is Hermione, and this is Dwight. They're going to be the ones that are in charge of the case. So they're going to be the ones more directly working with you guys. So
Obviously, these guys have a few questions for you.
Yeah, do you have any place where we can set up and start working?
And can you make sure there's a TV so I can watch my score at time? So don't worry about him. He's actually a really smart guy, which is kind of a wild thing. But we'll be in contact with you throughout the audit. So thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us today, and we look forward to working with you.
Nice to meet you, Doug.
Very nice to meet you. I love the hat, by the way.
Yeah, the hat and the plants.
Hey kid, did I ever tell you about the Shopify audit? Well, it's a good story. The company was founded in 2004 by a bright entrepreneur, Toby. He became unsatisfied with commerce products on the market and decided to launch his own online store platform. As an e-commerce platform services for business, Shopify now employs over 2,000 people through its Ottawa headquarters. As a fairly new company, they are currently in the growth stage, as indicated by their 90% revenue growth in 2016.
Hey Dwight, I
Hey,
hope you're
Hermione.
ready for a busy day because Harvey's trusting us with a lot with this engagement. We don't want to let him down.
What is this one again? What was it this week?
Shopify?
Oh, yeah. That little thing.
Well, anyways, you've clearly been too busy, but I've actually been doing research so we have a better grasp on this industry.
What'd you find?
Well, the e-commerce industry is actually really attractive right now. I mean, there's low labor costs, it's growing, people really like buying online, so it's moving towards that. There's still some risks associated with, however, so it's a fairly new industry, so regulations aren't super stringent, which make it difficult to maneuver the ethical and legal environment. And with so much growth, it's hard for companies to stay relevant, so it might lead them to doing like risky maneuvers and moves to get ahead.
Isn't Shopify the fastest growing company in Ottawa
Yeah,
now?
it is, but let's just go, come on.
Fine.
So right here, these are our programmers. They're, working hard. And just wanted to let you guys know we're a bit limited on workspace right now, but I found you the perfect spot. You'll get lots of work done there.
I hope it is as perfect as you say.
Yeah, so here you go.
Here's the space. There's some chairs in here, and I know there's no table, but there's like the supply closet down the hall. It's my lunch. I gotta go, but have a nice birthday, guys.
Auditors.
Thanks for sitting down with us, Pat. Can you actually just tell us a little bit about yourself? How long have you been working as an internal auditor here at Shopify?
Well, I was hired on last year after working numerous years as a head internal auditor at a big tech company, might I add.
Excellent. Yeah. Could you just elaborate on the financial health of Shopify, more specifically on the short-term view?
Of course, Shopify is an excellent financial health all around. If we look at their liquidity ratios, they've all shown positive growth. With an increase of 17% for the quick ratio over the past year and a 19% increase in the current ratio, Shopify is able to liquidate all their short-term debts with ease. I'm excited for the future and glad to be a part of this. Even the operating cash flow generated can cover the short-term liabilities twice over. Twice! Pretty astonishing if you ask me.
Well, speaking of the future, can you elaborate a little bit more on that? What do you see for the future for Shopify? Any concerns regarding the going concern of the company?
Oh, no. Their debt ratio is splendid. It's at a 6-to-1 ratio. An increase from 5-to-1 over this past fiscal year. Any other questions for me?
I have another question before Dwight interrupts me. But we all know that revenue is one of the most worrisome parts of the audit. And because there is such low audit risk, we really want to emphasize this part. So can you tell us more about the sources of revenue you get and how you generate those?
Well, there's not much to it really. They only have two sources of revenue, subscription solutions and merchant solutions, both respectively representing 48% and 52% of the revenue. As both of these services rose at an epidemic rate, this past year, 90% growth to be precise. It seems like merchant solutions gained more popularity this year. Considerately, this revenue for this line of service increased by 115%. Pretty impressive that Tobias is running this company like a champ.
Listen, you! I didn't come here to hear about your rainbows and dandelions, and there's something you're not telling us here. Come on, spill the beans!
Okay, you know what, Dwight, calm down. Thank you so much for your time. It was great meeting you and getting to talk to you. Get what you did.
Hello. I do not have time for this right now. No.
Hey Rob, how you doing?
Who are you?
We're the auditors from PricewaterhouseCoopers, and it's our engagement to audit Shopify this week.
You guys can go ahead, but I really don't have time to do this.
Could you just explain your relationship with Shopify and what you do over here?
I'm a software engineer here at Shopify. I keep everything in control with regards to security and software, but I'm really busy and I do not have the time to talk.
Well, we actually came prepared and we have our research, but we just wanted to ask a few questions about your control. So like regarding security breaches and stuff, what are your controls for that and risks associated to it?
Shopify is based on holding the information of many companies, as well as the credit card transactions that go through each business. They take place between the customer and Shopify systems, so there's a lot of liability that relies on our systems to be secure. We also have to verify that all the transactions are entered correctly because our accounts receivable needs to have the accurate information that's processed. But I really don't have time to go through all that with you.
What about the information tampering as an e-commerce business? That's really relevant in our audits.
We pride ourselves over secure transactions as we comply to meet all of the payment card industry data standards, which is information security standards for organizations that handle credit and debit cards. Shopify meets all 6 PCI standards that customers can trust us with their transactions and information. Feel free to test each of them, but I suggest you go waste someone else's time. They've all been running very smoothly, as you can see.
Awesome, that means we're done here, Hermione. We're out of here.
Okay, don't be naive, Dwight. Can we really trust him? But thank you, Robert. Your time is greatly appreciated.
Don't let the door hit you on the way.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank you all for taking the time, especially Elon Musk. We appreciate your business. And I'm going to hand off this presentation to Emmy and let her get started. Thank you.
Thank you, Toby. Thanks, Richard. So good afternoon, executives. So I'll be here today to just go over a quick presentation on Shopify's industry comparison for the past year. So as you know, Shopify's had a really great past year, and we've experienced a lot of growth. So this graph up here shows the various market shares for Shopify and their competitors. So as you can see, Magento and WooCommerce do take up a significant portion of the market. However, Shopify is definitely growing. Right now we have about 8.1% of the market, and we're really pushing that to be able to take over the competition and surpass WooCommerce and Magento. Now Shopify's growth over the past year has been due to several factors, one of them being our high-profile clients that we've been able to attain. So working with these high-profile clients, we've worked with WaterAid, Budweiser, and Tesla. So thank you, Elon. Special shout out to you for being here today. Another reason for Shopify's growth over the past year has been due to the marketplace response. So we've had a partnership with Amazon, an alliance with Facebook through taking over Ultimate, and our acquisition of Kit CRM Inc. So I'd like to thank you all for coming today, and is there any questions about the presentation?
Great presentation. You really represent the culture here at Shopify.
Thanks, Toby. Yes, Harvey.
I just have one quick question. So you mentioned on your little graph there that you guys have an okay part of the market. Obviously, you guys want to grow. Would you agree with me?
Of course.
So with that willingness to grow, would that affect you guys maybe cheating the rules a little bit because you want to grow faster, or would that be any sort of issue?
We're pretty honest here at Shopify.
It's pretty honest isn't always good enough.
I thought you invited me here to discuss a new deal, not this presentation.
Didn't you get the memo we sent?
Okay, I think that's good for today. Executives, you may be excused. Have a nice day.
I thought it was good.
Oh, thanks, Richard.
Expert in inherent risk, would you be able to elaborate on high risk or fraud risk areas and accounts such as revenues and accounts receivables for Shopify? Because obviously those are areas we want to focus on being higher risk.
Yeah, certainly. So Shopify is in e-commerce industry, and e-commerce fraud actually has been on the rise over the years. So typically more focus needs to be done on the revenues and the associated accounts receivable. The potential fraud risk needs to, you confirm the management's assertion that in association with suspicious vendors, vendors acting suspiciously. What this means is essentially vendors who use a lot of credit cards, we need to see their policy on that, and what management will do to vendors who have a bunch of different accounts under the same IP. We need to talk to them about that, and different substantive procedures according to with the revenues, just in general, with vouching of sales documents to confirm their existence, and of course allocating the audit effort based on where Shopify's business activities are. So typically 70% of their business activities is in the United States. So more audit effort needs to be done in that country, and only 30% is done in Canada, UK, and Australia. So less effort dedicated to those areas. And accordingly with accounts receivable, we only associated with it a medium to low risk area simply because Shopify's internal controls are regarded as pretty decent. There has been no large scandals with their internal controls, so we just need to verify their segregation of duties, recording classification transactions in the information system, and then we need to confirm with the IT specialists what everything is going on.
Interesting. And speaking about the revenue, Shopify's revenue increased by 90% over the past fiscal year, yet their operating expenses increased from 131 million to 247 million, and their net loss increased from 19 million to 35 million. Is this a red flag? Should we be concerned?
So yeah, you're right. This is a very good observation on the auditor's part, on your part, of course.
Thank you.
Pretty good.
And essentially, yes, there is a disproportionate amount of expenses in relation to the revenues, but that can actually be quickly associated with the fact that when you break down this operating expenses, a significant portion was dedicated this year to improving IT security and fraud detection. So even though not all of the operating expenses was spent with growth, in accelerating the revenue, the expenses, the excess operating expense was used on ensuring the validity of sales revenue by improving IT security. So it was definitely not waste, it was definitely not inefficiency.
Okay. And is there anything of value that you could tell us about the industry, the e-commerce industry, or even Shopify in general?
So Shopify is actually a bit unique in comparison with some of the other industry because not only do they spend a lot of their profits on investment into their merchant subscriptions, their solutions, merchant subscriptions, and also the fact that they typically have used this money in acquisitions, and they have used this money in marketable securities. These two areas are actually high risk because with marketable securities, it's vulnerable to market fluctuations. So we need to verify, the existence of these marketable securities by third-party brokers to see if they're actually there, and we need to see their accounting policy in regards to measuring interest and dividend revenue. Also with the acquisitions, with KIT Inc. and Boltmade Inc. with $8 million and $6 million respectively, we need to see their accounting policy for the goodwill.
All right, I think that's all we have for today.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Holmes.
Yeah, no problem.
Pleasure meeting with you.
That was very informative. Thank you. Can't believe they put us in this room.
I know, there's no windows, ventilation. I can't work in this environment.
No, me neither, but I think Emily's supposed to be showing up soon, so hopefully we can get that work done and get out of here.
Oh, there she is.
Okay. Hi.
Nice of you to show up.
Thanks for having me.
So we just have a few questions to go over with you. How long have you been working here at Shopify?
I was actually the first ever office manager here, so I guess for about 5 years now.
Cool, so you probably know, Shopify, the business, inside and out.
Yeah, I actually helped to build a lot of the policies and control systems that we use today.
It's cool.
Not working.
Okay, well, I guess we'll just continue. Dwight, you had a question?
Yes, of course. So with your experience here at Shopify, you must have had a couple issues with your controls, and I would just like you to elaborate on those a little bit.
Yeah, so we were a startup, and at first, I guess it was a bit of a fiasco, and we experienced some issues, but these things have leveled off now, and we're much better equipped to handle these situations, and we have the proper processes to assure good control. So I can't really think of any control issues, or specific ones even.
Well, obviously, Shopify has been growing so quickly, but would you agree that this fast growth has caused issues regarding your controls, like all the new hires coming in and increased number of transactions?
Yeah, of course there's new challenges every day, but here at Shopify we get stuff done, and we hire employees that solve problems because our work environment's based on solving problem after problem every day and getting things done. Some issues have arisen because of the fast growth, but we deal with them as quickly and efficiently as possible.
But with this exponential growth within the corporation, you must have had a lot more transactions. But how do you make sure that they're all reliable?
So we use segregation of duties, and our transactions are actually double processed. So when the customer makes a transaction, we verify it there, and then to take our commission from that transaction, we verify it again.
Awesome. So another question is, do you think there's risks with cash handling and opportunities for fraud because of these transactions?
No, everything's electronic, so yeah, we have a high number of transactions, but no, there's no issues.
Because you're not dealing with physical cash.
Exactly, it's all electronic.
Great, so our final question for you today would be, how did Shopify finance their growth?
So our shares actually represent about 96% of our total assets. They've doubled since last year, and I'd say around a little over 70% comes from Class A shares, and the remaining 30% is from Class B.
Great. Okay, I think that's all we need for today.
Okay,
Thank you
well,
very much.
thanks for having me, and enjoy the workspace.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Great.
Okay.
No, I told you, don't put that in that account. You know what? Hey, Harvey. I have clients, I'm sorry. So, I give you guys 2 weeks. What do you have?
Well, for the past 2 weeks, we've been working with Shopify employees, and we've been interviewing them to get to know their internal control processes and how they do transactions and knowing more about the business so that we can better do this audit and plan it out. So we first started talking about the IT infrastructure, and based on limited information we got by one of the Shopify programmers, his name is Rob, the controls appear to be working pretty well. So we discussed multiple controls, such as the risk of breach of information, information tampering, and he indicated that they were working really well, but he was pretty flustered and seemed really busy, so didn't get that much information out of him, so I think we should do further testing. But we should note that after talking with Richard, he did say that there was a heavy investment in operations to implement new IT security, so the controls should be pretty reliable.
Yeah, he said something about how the accounts receivable and the revenue, even if it's generally high fraud risk areas, that we should assess a medium risk level to these these volatile accounts. But he actually explained a little bit something about the emergence of fraud in the e-commerce industry, so that we should really pay attention to the investments that Shopify have done, their acquisitions and the goodwill, the relation with those accounts and transactions, and finally their market securities, how they invested more into their IT securities, and should do a couple more substantive testing and procedures, additional procedures in these areas.
That's it. Well, we also talked to little Pat. He said that the corporation as a whole is in excellent financial health, both in the short and long term. And you got along well with little Pat? Yeah.
A little too well.
It was pretty good. I like the guy.
I'm not going to get angry, but just to let you know, I know.
Just to let you know.
You heard?
That's it. I'm not arguing anymore. Do you guys have anything else to add?
Nothing from my end.
No.
It's very good. Very, very good, Hermione. You're really making your way. Dwight?
It's always the same.
With that said, I think we are ready to assess the audit risk. So let's start with the control risk. Excuse me. So obviously Shopify they have good controls, which has been seen by which you can tell by your interviews and stuff. But given the high volatility of their HR department, with people coming in, people going out, I don't think there's enough certainty that people have been in those positions for long enough to know the controls and apply them properly. So the control risk should be assessed at a medium level given that. Would you two agree?
I agree.
Now for inherent risk, this is a lot based on what Mr. Holmes told us, Richard, the fraud. Basically there is a lot of fraud in that area. It's a very volatile environment, and given that, and especially given the stock drop where someone actually accused Shopify of being a big scheme with basically nothing, and given that over 95% of their financing is by common shareholders, obviously the inherent risk is going to be very high, because another rumor like that could completely plummet the company. So with that being said, the plan detection risk must be low. So we need to make sure that anything that could be materially misstated, we need to discover it. Do you understand that?
Clearly.
Hermione? Do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay. So that being said, I think the audit risk should be assessed at around 5%. I think that's fair given 3 factors into the formula. The other thing that I did take time and do my research on is materiality, which I believe, based on everything it all ties in together, should be assessed around 5% of the revenue. Despite the increase in fraud risk in e-commerce, Shopify has shown maturity for such a young company to push up their expenses and make the investments necessary in security and in their internal control, even though they're having a net loss. So that's very mature of them, and I think that should be taken into consideration. So that's it. Almost forgot. You guys forgot about the payroll.
I knew it.
It's okay, Dwight. That's why I'm here. I catch your mistakes.
His mistakes.
I did say it. I know you're good to know. But, so I took up on your slack and took care of it. Basically, it's not that big of a deal. It is a big deal. It's a big area of material misstatements. But we need to take in consideration, first off, the cutoff period. So it is a big. They have a lot of people working for them. So if the cutoff is wrong for all of them, it's obviously going to be a material misstatement, and very, very important to make sure that this is taken into consideration. And the other thing is accuracy. So as I mentioned, the volatility of their HR department is huge. There's a lot of people coming in, there's a lot of people going out, and there's a lot of people moving up, getting raises. So we need to make sure that the accuracy of their pays are in fact accurate. So people who don't work for them anymore don't get paid. People who do work, make sure they have the right amount. But other than that, good job, guys. So anything else to add?
No, I
Any
think
other-
we're ready to start work
other
on
questions?
the audit.
That's it. Alright, well, nice meeting you, Harvey.
He's your boss.
We'll really get to see him. Doesn't like my face.
Cash and cash equivalents. This is a medium risk area that will require substantive procedures given the low amount of cash handle. We're going to do a 100% audit on bank reconciliation through vouching to see the bank confirmations for existence. Then moving on to marketable securities, a very high risk area with a significant increase in financial instrument holding throughout the year. They account for a large portion of the company's asset and are very prone to market fluctuation. We will do substantive procedures such as verification of the schedule for completeness, recalculation for accuracy and presentation, and confirmation with the broker for existence. For receivables and other current assets, this is a medium to low risk area with having less of other assets. There's a potential risk for fraud though. We're going to evaluate the internal controls to see segregation of duties, recording classification of transactions in the information system, and do transaction walkthroughs with an IT specialist. As for substantive procedures, we will do confirmations of receivables to see existence and valuation. Moving on to revenue, a medium risk area with a potential for fraud and where revenue recognition could have errors. For substantive procedures, we will do cutoff tests to assure proper period and completeness. And we're also going to do vouching of sales documents to assure existence. We're also going to allocate the audit effort based on revenue numbers, so 70% in the States and 30% in other countries. Now for payables and accruals, a medium to low risk area where we're going to do more of an internal control assessments to evaluate segregation of duties, recording, classification of transactions in the information system, and transaction walkthroughs. As for substantive procedures, we will see cash disbursements for cutoff and completeness, and confirmation of payables to assure existence. Moving on to expenses, a medium to low risk area where the accounting treatment of research and development expenses need to be focused on. For internal control assessments, we will be documenting methodology, interviewing with developers, and review of selected development products. We're also going to do a little bit of vouching to assure existence. Now for property, plant, and equipment, it's a low risk area. We're just going to need physical inspections and valuation tests to make sure the assets are properly evaluated. Now for lease incentives, another low risk areas where vouching of lease agreements and determination of the nature of the leases will suffice. Now finally for intangible and goodwill, a higher risk area where two major acquisitions took place this year, Kit and Boltmade, we will require an IT and M&A specialist to assure that these transactions were properly recorded. Finally, shareholders' equity. Medium to high risk area, given the company is publicly traded and majorly financed by shareholder equity. Finally, shareholders' equity. Given that it is a publicly traded company, majorly financed by shareholder equity, it is a high risk area. Substantive procedures to confirm existence will be needed for this part of the audit.
I never want to be an auditor when I grow up.
Hey Toby, how's it going? Good. I'm doing well here. All right, you're in a rush, so I'll get right to the point. So you'll be happy to hear me and my team completed the audit, and you'll be happy to hear that we're going to issue an unmodified opinion, which means that all your financial statements are in accordance with GAS. There's nothing that's materially misstated. We performed our audit according to GAAP, and everything is A-OK. All right, great. All right, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Paying for the kill, golden grill of sadness, midlife wasted youth, always ends up like this, always gonna lose. Dazzle me, dazzle me, dazzle me.
Jordan Bell Spurred, Jordan Bell Spurred, yo. Getting dirty money, Jordan Belfort. Stacking penny stock